Hi, everybody. This is Marlene with Miami Ghost Chronicles, Stories of the Supernatural. The following is an episode of a new show called Haunted Hospitals that I filmed in 2018. This is episode 12, and everything on it, everything portrayed is absolutely true.
It's the middle of the night in this southern American city. State Investigator Marlene Pellicer has just been called to work.
I was on call that night. It was around 2 a.m. A child had died after drowning in a swimming pool. The child had been pronounced dead at the hospital. We were investigating anything that had to do with either child injury or death. The purpose of the investigation was to verify had there been any wrongdoing that led to the event that occurred.
Her investigation will prevent other children from suffering the same fate. Tonight, Marlene feels something she can't rationally explain.
I remember feeling very uneasy. This was uncommon for me to feel this way. I pushed it aside because I was concentrating on what I needed to go and do at that moment. It is very difficult to work in cases where children have either been victimized or have been witnesses to crimes, violence, and not feel that you want to help them on an emotional level, but you realize that that's not what's really going to help them. What they need is somebody to investigate it thoroughly and accurately and dispassionately. That is the best way to help them.
Hi, I need this file, please.
It was very important to speak to the personnel and get from them verbatim what the nature of the injuries were and what they think might have caused it. So I have them turn over any reports that were available to me. I noticed something a little bit off. Like when someone's watching you. And I got that prickly sensation on the back of my neck. I looked around again because I was thinking, is there something I'm not picking up on? And you shake it off because you look around and there's nobody there.
The nurse returns empty-handed. The document Marlene needs isn't yet prepared.
They said, if you come back in maybe an hour, we'll have it ready. I said, I will be back. And at that point, I left. I'd contacted a family member who had agreed to go and open up the premises for me for my investigation.
But as she leaves the hospital, Marlene feels something she cannot explain.
When I got in the vehicle, I still had that feeling, to the point that, as a matter of fact, I remember locking my car doors right away. Normally, I would not do that. I even checked my rearview mirror. I had to think there is something unusual about tonight versus other nights.
Tonight, this normal-looking suburban home is the scene of a crime. Marlene looks for evidence of wrongdoing.
As part of my investigation, especially something which had resulted in a death, would look at, in this case where there was a swimming pool involved, was it safe? How did it occur? I needed to look to see if there was anything that could have contributed to that accident or that death. I started to take pictures, which is one of the most important things. I took a picture of the swimming pool. I took pictures of the fenced area of the yard. If there was any safety features, any toys, access to the backyard. I took pictures of everything that had anything having to do with that backyard area. It was very quiet. This is about 3 in the morning. I start trying to envision how this could have occurred. Even though you're there as an investigator, you're still cognizant that only a few hours ago a child lost their life there. I felt very uneasy. I just couldn't put my finger on why I was feeling that way. But I want to stress that at that point, I'm very analytical in what I'm doing because that is what's required of me. I had gone around to the side of the house. And I heard a splash in the pool area. I was terrified.
Investigating a child's drowning, Marlene Pellicer feels an unseen presence.
When I hear the splash, I immediately turn back thinking, first of all, what it could have been. Nothing in the pool that could account for that. But I distinctly heard that. And there was no overhanging trees. There was nothing that could have dropped in there to make that splash. I was afraid, is there something I'm missing? Is somebody behind a bush or somewhere that I'm just not seeing them? And I remember standing there for a few seconds, just trying to reason and figure this out.
Also disturbing to Marlene is that the pool is completely covered and unable to make a splash.
I felt that there was something going on here that wasn't normal or natural, in other words. And I was just plain scared. But I just put that aside and I continued to do my work, which included going to the other side of the house to continue taking pictures. That's when I heard a second splash of something much, much heavier. And even though I did not want to think of it almost as what a body would sound like if it had fallen in the pool. I immediately turned around and went right back. I wasn't sure what I was going to find at that moment. But again, nothing. I had a moment where you realize that the reality of where you're at doesn't coincide with what you're hearing. And that sent a chill down my spine. This just scared the hell out of me.
Why didn't you just get the hell out of there?
I could not leave despite what I was feeling. I was there to do a job, and part of that job is to do a complete and thorough investigation that only could take place at that time, at the initial phase.
Determined to give a voice to the dead, Marlene continues with her investigation.
This house is very quiet. There's no one there. It's a 2-story home. And no one is allowed to be in the home because it is considered a crime scene. I'm in the kitchen taking pictures. I heard some type of noise. And I remember I stopped taking pictures immediately to listen in the silence, like, what was it that I heard? But again, I got that very uneasy feeling that I was not alone there. And then that's when I heard what sounded like footsteps. My first thought is there somebody in the house? I was thinking, did any of the family members, for some reason, come back into the home when they're not supposed to? And immediately I thought, there is somebody upstairs that is not supposed to be here. The footsteps, they were very light, and to me it sounded almost like a child. It was not a heavy-footed step that normally adults make.
Hello? Is someone there?
I decided I'm gonna go upstairs and find out who's up there. I went into each and every room. I opened up the closets. I checked every single place that a person could be hiding. There was nobody there. And I cannot find a rational explanation for hearing those footsteps. It was something that I could not explain any other way. So I had to go ahead and accept that there was no other conclusion that, other than that it had to do with what had happened to that child earlier that day. What was going on was not of this world. I was scared. I had to admit myself that if I wanted to stop being scared, I needed to leave right away.
People who work occupations that deal with a lot of trauma, once they're introduced into a situation where a victim who is in the form of a spirit or a ghost is present, that ghost might identify with that person as someone who deals with tragedies that they had gone through and try to connect with that person.
Now, how much of this did you put in your report?
I put none of that in my report because I could not put none of that in my report. My credibility would be called into question. I needed to return to the hospital to pick up the report that had been promised. I see a little kid.
Hey.
And I'm thinking, why is this little kid out in this area unaccompanied? This is, again, about 4 in the morning, and where's the adult? Obviously, he had gotten away from an adult or he was lost. And I'm following him down this hallway until I turned a corner and I found nothing there. There was no place for this child to hide. So there was no other explanation except that he was a spirit. I remember thinking, because this child had appeared so solid, that I thought I was chasing a live child that was lost in the hospital. I realized I was not dealing with something from this world.
Investigating the drowning death of a child, Investigator Marlene Pellicer begins to believe she's seeing the victim.
I believed at that point that this was the spirit of the child, and maybe he was just not really aware of what had happened to him.
When people see the ghost of a child as compared to an adult, there's almost a little bit of a creepy edge to that. They like to play a lot of games like hide and seek, so it's very difficult sometimes to tell what the intent of kids are.
Did you see that little boy?
Nobody seemed to notice him. It's almost as if he was invisible.
In particular cases, a ghost may appear to an individual rather than a group of people. It's generally when they have some specific intent, some type of message or some type of contact that they want to have with that particular individual. It might be just one person out of several that has the sensitivity to be able to pick up on a spirit that's present there.
Marlene cannot explain what she's seen.
Thank you.
When I received the report of what the drowned child looked like, I realized that would fit the description of that child I had seen. And that sent a chill down my spine.
Although otherworldly, it explains everything else that's happened.
I felt that it was this child, that he was aware of me, and that he had been the one that maybe caused a splash in the pool, maybe aware that I was a stranger in his house. And also, he was the one I had heard running upstairs where his bedroom was located.
When a child dies and becomes a ghost, they don't transcend and they stay earthbound. They generally are locked into the time period of the death. So if a child resonates with the age of 10 and believes himself to be 10, he will appear to people as a 10-year-old.
Because of this incident, Marlene will never see her job the same way again.
At that point, I asked myself, why would I be witnessing or seeing this child? And I thought, why me? Because I'm not family, I'm a stranger. And I thought, because of what I do, I worked with a lot of children, helping a lot of children. That was what my job was.
Do you think he knew he was dead?
I don't think he really understood what death was. Because he was so young, and I think in a way it had been sudden, and he just was trying for somebody to tell him what had happened, or maybe why his family didn't hear him or see him.